Hi, Dolores. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Hello, Mary. Hello, Arthur. Nice to see you again.
We are all
Good afternoon.
wearing
Good
the
afternoon,
same
Good
one.
Dolores.
afternoon, Dolores.
Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello.
so pleased to see you all back again. Thank you for taking the time to join. But we're going to be together for the next approximately 45 to 50 minutes, up to 60 if the conversation flows and we get questions coming in, to discuss sort of more like a wrap up of the last 2 days that we spent together at the event. I'd like to start with thanking you all for your contribution for the last 2 days of the event. I've been listening to all the panels and all the presentations, and each one of you has given a very unique and insightful overview of what reigniting tourism really means and how we can support it, how we can support the industry, how we can support the consumers, and ultimately how we can support ourselves because we are in the business actually. So before we get started on today's roundtable, where the aim is to brainstorm about the travel recovery umbrella, but really, what is it to us and how do we envision the future of travel? Your views and your feelings after these last 2 days of discussions. What was your main takeaway? So who would like to get started? Mary, let's do ladies first, right? Mary, what were your main takeaways from the last 2 days?
Okay, thank you, Dolores, for putting me first. Ladies first. And according to size, no, joke only. uh, no, just to lighten up. My main takeaway is that I'm so happy and blessed to be part of the 2 days conference because all of us have contributed something that will allow all our attendees to put themselves in the ground. Why? Because of different challenges that we are encountering. There are a lot of things that are not within our control, but everyone is already wanted to go back to our regular life. So everyone has their own contribution in coming up with our ideas, with our sharing on how we can ignite, igniting again the travel tourism as a whole, and given with different places globally, we are all connected. So we have our piece of sharing on what's the best practices, what are the things that they can do, and I think it contributes a lot really to the tourism industry. And collectively, the goal we have achieved definitely, and I congratulate all my fellow panelists and speaker for that.
I think, especially for your presentation, you've given a very almost like in depth and somehow kind of like, touching and spiritual take on how different operators can feel they can contribute, because the issue that we see in restarting travel today, and it's the mindset. It's because a lot of operators have been sort of like standby for such a long time, being idle, and almost the restarting tourism, the reigniting tourism feels like it's someone else's problem. It's not our problem. So it's got to happen. And when it happens, by the grace of something or something else or somebody else, we'll kind of follow suit. So I think the event has proved that we have given practical solutions and strategies to make everybody feel that everybody's involved. It's not someone else's problem to restart tourism. So thank you so much. Marvin, you're like right next to Mary in my screen. So over to you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. My take over the last 2 days is that there is clear hope and drive to really help the economy. And I guess tourism is one of the major sector that was badly hit, but it must really bounce back because it's gonna be a driver of bouncing back the economy, both for local travels and later the international travels must also be attended to on a new normal way of giving the experience of travelers, both for individuals, families, and groups. There will be lots of changes and challenges, but I guess the collaboration of everybody and the concern and giving inputs and shared positive and contributory experiences will be able to help everybody, not only for the local sector but also for the international sector. So we just have to hold all our hands together and help one another to really bring back again the economy. Thank you.
It's true. Thank you, Marvin. Actually, I've watched your presentation. I like the way you visualized the pre-COVID and post-COVID travel and travelers' mindset as well. One of the things that I noticed around in these group discussions and over the last 2 days is that obviously the domestic travel as a result of a lot of the travel restrictions around the world has restarted earlier than international travel. And what has happened is, apart from the connectivity issue, it's also the communication issue, because those operators that were so used to market and promote their businesses to overseas travelers suddenly didn't know how to approach their own fellow citizens, their own fellow countrymen. This communication and appeal in tourism promotion that we have domestically, it's something that has touched every nation. So I'm curious to know what is going on for domestic travel in the Philippines, and how, if are the Filipinos reacting to it? Are they enjoying their own country? Because sometimes people don't go to places because they are full of international tourists, right? So thank you so much, Andrea. So pleased to meet you. Thank you for reaching out. I enjoyed your presentation. Quite aligned with mine.
Well, Dolores, if we look at let's say this, when it comes to domestic tourism, I can speak by personal experience, which happened during the first initial opening that we had between the second lockdown. We have a property in the outskirts of Metro Manila, in an area called Nuvali. It's a beautiful area at the foot of Tagaytay, on the way up there, and that was within the Metro Manila range. So when it was allowed to accommodate leisure customers at a certain point of time, we did very well. There was really a huge demand for that property. So we could feel that people really are out there waiting to be able to travel again, to relax, to visit. I mean, whatever is the reason for them to travel. So it's true that there is a demand just waiting for the possibility to access destinations. But people will travel. I mean, the human nature and the human spirit is resilient. There is no way that people will give up going around because of the pandemic. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of how do you capture your market share, how do you capture the demand that supposed to stay with you. So there will be a strong marketing war somehow, or
yes, yeah, and I want to have a conversation with all of you today about that, the market share of the destination, and who has lost the game and who actually has been hard at work at the meantime. So I've seen a lot of the luxury tropical destinations rolling up their sleeves during the core of the pandemic and do the hard work, so that when travel restriction would be eased, they will be top of the mind of travelers, instead of being like, where? No, I want to go here, because that's what I've been seeing in my social media. That's what I've been seeing online. That's what the websites that, the algorithm of Google brought to me. So indeed, we're going to speak about market share. Thank you, Andrea. Arthur, so pleased to meet you. Thank you for your presentation. It was very insightful. And I personally am I'm very passionate about aviation industry trends, because I've been hosting several panels over the past few months, especially with IATA, and a lot of the conversations that we've been having are not just about the traveler perspective and the industry operator perspective, but also the general collaboration and also budgets that are sort of struggling with in terms of the aviation industry. And your presentation gave a bit of an overview of your strategy moving forward. So what was your takeaway from these last 2 days?
Yeah, first of all, thank you also once again for letting us participate. It was really very interesting, despite the fact I only attended the first day, to be honest. Yesterday, unfortunately not. But still a very positive impression, nice interaction on the screen, and also, of course, as you always see behind the screens in terms of, let's say, contacts suddenly appearing via social media, persons who are interested to chat with you on different levels. So that's always very beneficial. What I really liked in, let's say, the combination of all the presentations and all the information provided is the drive. I mean, we are currently still in more or less the same situation as we were 1.5 years ago, with ups and downs. And currently we are experiencing some kind of an up. But you really saw the drive, the willingness to make the necessary steps forward. And that's for me the vital sign in recovery. And as you clearly stated as well, I will not make a difference, neither will you, neither will anyone in this panel, but it has to come from the combination of the industry and on top of that, of course, the willingness of the passengers themselves. And I think that is clear, and that is what clearly was indicated as well in all the sessions, and what really was for me the main positive takeaway.
Thank you. I think you touched a very important point here, is that it has to be a combination of factors. And personally, when I moderate a panel or I host a keynote, I'm very action oriented in the solutions and the opportunities, to take actions. There has been a lot of talk and a lot of pandemic washing in terms of, especially in the travel and tourism industry. I've joined panels where people were just speaking for the sake of speaking. And I appreciate that after seeing each and every one of your presentations, that your presentations were very, very action-oriented, were detail-oriented. So the core of the roundtable today is divided into 3 sections. The first part will talk about destination recovery. Then we're going to talk about the traveler's sentiment. And then let's not forget, because I've seen it also throughout the presentations, let's talk about conscious travel. What is it that we're asking travelers and what are they asking us? So in terms of to get started, destination recovery strategies. I've seen personally a race to keep up, to keep the attention going from the audience, the travel audience, onto the tropical luxury destinations. I mean, namely Mauritius, Seychelles, Maldives, as they are my neighborhood here in the Indian Ocean, and other island destinations as well. During the pandemic, they have done a lot of promotion work, a lot of let's say, marketing activities, digitally, partnerships, collaborations, to stay top of mind. Who would like to take on my first question about destination recovery? What has Philippines done at the meantime? And what could have been done that you as operators haven't seen as a missed opportunity? Marvin, please, break the ice.
Okay. We were able to pivot a project in Lake Caliraya in Cavinti, Laguna. It's about 2 hours drive out of Manila, southbound. So we have a glamping recreational agritourism, 20 hectares. But we are so dependent on the local government's advisories and the national government's advisories on protocols, travel protocols. So the Department of Health, the Department of Tourism, and our local government units must really hold hands to support the local operators like us. Because without official advisories, there is still fear.
And uncertainty.
with uncertainties. So I guess that's what we've been looking for. And honestly, I believe things has happened slowly as expected. We could have done it more proactively and faster so that proper media communications can be used or the websites of our governments. But it's really still on a question and answer. We have to initiate questions. We have to inquire from our local government. We have to do research on the Department of Health website about the latest advisories. And all our advisories became localized. There is no really standard announcement. It depends where your region is located, what type of resort are you managing, and there's lots of homework to be done to be able to catch up. So
You
that's my
exactly
contribution.
this point. There is a lot of homework to be done, and that homework it's the responsibility of every operator. But there is one thing though that as a lot of, let's say, global travel demand has come to as posed, over the past 15 months, more or less, up to 18 months. I would like to know from the panel, who is Philippines competing with when it comes to market share as a destination? Arthur, I see you nodding. Well, you would like to take it.
I can comment on that, but the question itself is perhaps a bit difficult to answer, because if you look at it from an airline perspective, from a travel perspective, we let's say we identify a number of specific groups as let's say the potential travelers in the end. So currently, based on the situation we are facing, as known, more or less the only travelers which are flying in and out of the Philippines are overseas Philippines workers. So marine personnel all over the world. And luckily that is still there, and the demand is extremely high, and that is more or less the backbone of our airline operation here in the Philippines. So if you look at that from a comparator point of view, that is not the surrounding countries. That are countries worldwide which are also capable in supplying the marine demand for marine activities all over the world. So you can think about India, you can think about Eastern European countries. That are, from that point of view, let's say, the main competitors. On the other hand, the leisure point of view, of course, completely else. Currently, of course, we anxiously are awaiting that. I compare most of the times the Philippine market with Thailand. I think we have at least the same potential, if not more. But looking at the figures over the last 15 years, we are not there yet. So that is also in our point of view and in our main interest, marketing-wise, to promote that for the time being. So therefore, a bit difficult to understand. For business, of course, another element. For VFR, in the end, that will slowly start up. But that's, let's say, compared to the groups, as mentioned before, slightly less. But that's at least from our point of view how we identify that and how we position ourselves as such in the travel market.
Andrea, what kind of reopening, sort of like destination recovery, reopening protocols have been more effective, do you think?
Well, for now, we don't really have that much in place, apart from the usual quarantine and vaccinations and the rest. Now it's up to the individual properties or the individual destination to put up their own, let's say, system that can guarantee a certain level of health and safety. This is what we probably don't have yet. I didn't see anything about how do we guarantee our travelers once they come here that things are safe, apart from, again, from the few activity done by the Department of Health and the DOT and the rest. I think that we need to have a monitoring system, number one. I mean, a system of procedures in place, and then a monitoring system where we can convince the travelers that it's really safe. And we have to somehow leverage on the fact that it's difficult to ensure safety when you talk about so many small hotels all around the Philippines. There are no big brands or big resort like in Thailand, for example. If you look at Thailand is majority of the big brands are there. Because the first thing that the traveler will look at in this moment is the health and safety. This is the number one reason for choosing a destination over another. So on that side, it can be guaranteed by the large brand, by their international protocol, international standards, their monitoring system, and the rest. Here, unfortunately, there are very few. The majority of hotels are small and medium enterprises, right, within family run, which is fantastic type of hospitality. But in terms of trust, of course, it's a little bit less compared to the larger brand. So I think we should come up with a system to help them being aligned with the international brand, with the training for the staff, with supply of proper materials for cleaning and disinfections, and most of all for monitoring that things are done diligently and
You've mentioned a very valid point there. And it's related to the core business structure of all the tourism operator in the Philippines, that as a lack of international brand or less international brand operating with international standards, they all operate perhaps with small, medium enterprises, family business core. And these family businesses that are still operating probably the most genuine hospitality style that you can have. They need guidance. They need guidance in how to reapproach the marketing message, how to recall that attention back to them. What kind of guidance in terms of destination recovery those private operators need the most right now? Is that the marketing guidance? Is that operational guidance? Is that people-to-people training? I don't know, Mary, would you like to jump in these questions and share your views? So what do you think now the small and medium operators in tourism and travel need the most in the Philippines? What kind of guidance?
Okay, thank you, Dolores. If I may add also earlier, nobody from us can definitely guarantee the safety and assurance, of this COVID, because we know that even how much we do the disinfect or do all those things, sometimes these are also beyond our control. It depends on the immune system of the person. Or there's a lot of factors. Maybe what we can do is to add some measures wherein we can come up with a better way of coming up more on the protocol and enhance more, like probably pivoting from closed air to open air. Those are things that probably we can add, but of course we cannot guarantee.
It's interesting. I have this sense that, especially from the conversations of the event of the last 2 days, that the operators are willing to take action. They need guidance. They need support, institutional support, international support, and most importantly, they need to focus on who is it that is going to travel to the Philippines moving forward. Is it just a matter of opening borders, or it's a matter of marketing share, market positioning as to revive that appeal to the destination, right? And we walk into understanding the traveler sentiment today. What is motivating them to travel again? And yes, we do want to travel, but at what cost? So I was just in a conversation yesterday on Clubhouse. I don't know if anyone navigates the likes of this fantastic app. And we were talking about Bespoke Travel. Now, Bespoke Travel is personalized travel solution that basically customize the travel experience, and people are willing to pay more for more space and more time. So they book a holiday for longer as opposed to short travel holidays or experiences. And they're willing to pay more to have more space around them, to have that bigger room or that bigger space in the restaurant, or more privacy. Andrea, what would you observe in relation to personalized travel solutions? Do you think this could be the key of reviving that travel confidence?
Yes, definitely. Guests are expecting to be in control of their own space. This is one of the things that we really need to understand. Being in control of your own space means we have to embrace the little technology at the end needed to guarantee this sort of solution. They don't want to go to the concierge and ask their question anymore. They want to do on a mobile phone. But it's really like that. I mean, I'm an old-fashioned hotelier, and I somehow hardly accept the fact that technology is really coming in, and it's meant for avoiding too much of guest contact. And we have to do so. The check-in, online check-in, and direct rooming, all these little things are very much appreciated by the travelers today, at least in the immediate post-pandemic. And this system were already out there in the market. We have never used it. It's just that now they're coming in the picture strongly because people requires keyless technology and so on.
I've observed some success stories in the industry where the space and the personalized travel experience, where travelers would favor private tours as opposed to the group activities, and even up to direct polls in some of the forums that I'm a member of. Direct question: would you pay more for an excursion or a travel experience where it's just you and your husband, or you and your family bubble, knowing that you could save 20-30% of the same amount, knowing that you can go with a group? And 99% of the answers was yes, I would rather pay more, because I feel that time and space are the currencies of today's travel sentiment. I'm paying more because everything contributes to my personal safety. And, I go back to what Mary was saying, when it's everybody's responsibility to guarantee safety. We can provide the tools, we can set the scene, we can sanitize our hotels and our aircrafts. But at the end of the day, if I want to fly private jet because I feel safer, I'm willing to pay more for that, travelers will do so. One of the things that I've observed is the travel booking window that is becoming shorter and shorter. And I see Arthur nodding, that understands, like, especially for hotels, we look at longer stays. But for travel decisions, they become shorter. People act out of impulse rather than long-term planning. What's a travel window that you're observing in the market right now?
I absolutely agree. Therefore, indeed, I was nodding. So currently, perhaps as a background, my background is also in the cargo industry within the organization. And cargo tends to have a booking window of approximately 2 weeks. And it all has to do, of course, by the nature of the goods. Otherwise, you will ship it via an ocean liner and not via an airplane. But more or less the same trend is also now visible in passenger business. So the average booking window here in the Philippines is around 2 to 3 weeks. Whereas pre-COVID, it was on average, I would say 4 to 5 months. That has a severe impact.
Very short. Yes.
That's extremely short.
Incredibly short.
And that's extremely short in terms of decision-making process, of course, from the travelers themselves, the agencies, but also for us in determining our capacity. And it makes it complicated, to say the least. And having said that, perhaps also a bridge, we eagerly, and we are constantly lobbying here internally with all the airlines together to have more clarity in the procedures here at Naya Airport for the inbound limitations. So as presented in my update, We currently are facing an already increased allocation of 3,000 inbound passengers per day, which is already a 50% increase compared to 2 weeks before, but still it is marginal. That means for us as airline, we can sell approximately 50, 60 seats per inbound flight. And we come in with an intercontinental aircraft seating normally around 350 to 400 passengers. So it has a severe impact as well. So first of all, with the limited booking window, and on top of that, the limited capacity we are facing by the rules and restrictions, that makes it extremely difficult for us to provide, let's say, kind of a normal product in the industry nowadays. And when that opens, and that also is then an opening for, let's say, for other types of passengers, whether that again will be business, family and friends, hopefully leisure, etc. That will enable us to have, let's say, a normal product, and also to make sure that we fit the right connection to the demand we are seeing in the market. And that is constantly really our balance.
This short window has quite an impact on, from like the aviation is like step one. Step two, it's the accommodation. So how does Marvin, in your opinion, how does the accommodation, how does the hospitality sector cope with such a short booking window?
Honestly, with the Philippine government style of making announcements, the booking became dependent on such short notice. Because if the government says that the travel restriction is relaxed until end of the month, you will just expect a 2 weeks to 4 weeks window of booking. They are awaiting the announcement of the government of what kind of restrictions will happen the following month. So, but what we experience now because of pandemic, the work from home, the availability of internet, it's no longer a Friday, Saturday, Sunday peak booking. People decided to book Monday to Thursday because that's where everybody doesn't go out. So they like privacy for as long as the internet is working. In fact, what we experience also is a daytime picnic booking. They are willing to pay more just to avail of a private pool, of a private picnic hut, a private kayak, a private fishing gear. They will just pay everything just to get out for the whole day, from sunrise just to sunset. And that has been an experience very uniquely with our glamping resort in Laguna.
Yeah, I'd like to add on with Marvin. Yeah, what he mentioned is totally right, because we know that these expenses are totally unexpected, and the owners of the hotel or accommodation cannot really add on the price, because if they add on, they will not be competitive anymore. And with a lot of choices of a traveler, so you might be put behind. But there's a two type of traveler. There are some, they don't mind paying high so long that there are more protocols and there are things that we can give them, some like ventilation, like the air purifier, humidifier, whatever that will add on to their sense. You know, these are all have something psychological effect on us. Every time I look at the person, I suspect already. I think maybe this is COVID positive. You will always think, you will always jump into conclusion that the one in front of you might be positive because of the asymptomatic, because of the different variant now. And given that the cost will be higher, probably it's more on coming up with more write up or more campaign on how they handle their guests, and the guest itself will experience uh, the things that you have provided, and they will tell the story, and that will be the best marketing for you.
These are things that impact the motivation to travel, and people are, kind of like put them off and say, you know what, I don't want to travel now. I better wait until there's not so much protocols in place, because there's fear of failure of these systems, of these tools. Andrea, have you noticed how have you managed your budget, your cost budgets, especially in relation to the use of all these new tools? And would you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Pardon. Definitely, it's not cheap to introduce all the new set of measures needed to keep a hotel properly sanitized. If you look at just the electrostatic sprayer that we use, is the same that they use in the airline business. Just the machine itself, it costs hundreds of thousands of pesos, and plus the chemicals, plus the other operating supply that staff need to wear, and that you have to constantly change. I mean, it is costly, but let's also say that that we needed a correction in this area. We needed a sort of improvement in the general cleanliness of the facilities. I mean, globally, right? And then it was still happening too often to go in and check in a hotel and it's not clean. Or if you look at the online reputation, all the various online sites, you can see that the cleanliness is always one of the main issues in every comment. I mean, this has to stop. And while we have certain standards on the food side, for example, for the food hygiene, we have the HACCP standard, the ISO standards, and the rest. For the cleanliness side, there is not much. It's all been left to the capabilities of a manager that decide which level of cleanliness they want to have. So this is an opportunity that we have to keep the bar high and maintain all our properties spotless. And that's another thing that will surely drive tourism back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. We are on the hour, and in the interest of time, I also would like to thank everybody. But one last question that I had on my agenda for today. It's about conscious travel. We've been talking about travel strategies to restore travel confidence and to restart tourism. But we also have mentioned here and there, I've noticed in through presentation, that travelers are more aware of the impact of travel on the planet and the silver linings of the pandemic when it comes to no travel. So what has happened to the planet, to the nature, to the wildlife of our destinations and so on. So I'm curious to, like, open question to the table. I'd like to know, what are your initiatives that are related to sustainable travel? How is that topic tackled in your destination?
I can start. In fact, I also it was one of my main topics. Also, what I presented earlier.
Yes.
We feel as airline and as airline industry the sincere responsibility to contribute in a better, cleaner world for the future. Per definition, we are a polluting industry, and that's what we are facing, and that's what we're knowing, and that's also why we should contribute. So we have a number of initiatives, and in fact, sustainability is one of the main pillars now in all of our plans, whether that's on corporate level or even on local station level. How do we contribute to indicate how serious we take it? I think the main project we are focusing on is the use of sustainable aviation fuel. So that's a new synthetic fuel which we can use together with, let's say, old-fashioned kerosene, the fossil fuels, and that results in a substantial lower emission in the end. It's for now, unfortunately, only still a minor part, but we really are in close cooperation with our partners, but also our customers, in how to contribute by use of, let's say, greener contracts in an increased use of these fuels. And on top of that, of course, investing in new fleet. So that comes in line, and making sure that the fleet is, of course, much more convenient for the traveler, but even more important, less emissions, so a lot lower usage of fuel, and of course also a lot quieter, because it's not only the fuel burn, but it's also the noise. Living close to airports, everybody knows it, you don't like it, and the new generation of aircrafts have a substantial lower footprint in terms of, again, both the emissions and the fuel. So those are a number of big topics, but it also drills down to smaller elements. So also at the airport, how do we make sure that all is being used green? So also in terms of the catering of the aircrafts. So not by use of old diesel trucks, but small electronic vehicles, waste disposal, watering the aircraft, fueling the aircraft, and even in the future also towing. We contribute there. Again, we want to be one of the front runners, but we don't want to do it alone. We really want to do it with our partners, for example, in IATA, but especially also with our customers. And whether that's cargo, passenger, with corporate, etc., we are in close contact in rolling out our green contracts for them and for us to contribute to that highly needed step for the future.
Mentioned slightly before the catering service of on the aircraft, and this is to me a painful point because I've seen this major comeback to single-use plastic during the revive of the tourism industry, which is something that I hope everybody's aware of and won't fall back into that trap again, and will tackle it in a sensitive way.
I can share the switch of the guests to spending more time with nature in terms of our glamping resorts. Instead of all the motorized amenities before, like jet skis, they shifted to individual mountain bike. They shifted to individual mountain trail hikes. They shifted to stand-up paddle boards, kayaking, fishing. I guess the love of nature was also triggered and supported by this pandemic, and it's a different guest experience now that we are providing in our glamping resorts. So that's also another sharing that I can
Back
give.
to nature, to nature. Absolutely. And there's a big revived interest around glamping all around the world as a solution to merge comfort and adventure and nature in a way. So I feel for those big hotels that they need to connect with that nature element to win that motivation back. Andrea.
Yeah, well, let's say that environmental concern and sustainability, these are at the forefront of our organization. We are really absolutely into this since a long time. I mean, the Ayala Group is so focused on trying to help the environment as much as possible. So also when it comes at hotel level, we have two different types. We have the resorts and we have the city hotel. So for the resort, you need to have two types of sustainability. One is the locations, and another one is the property itself. We have seen in certain beautiful destinations before what happened with the unsustainability, with the over tourism. Right? And you can certain area you can't see the beach anymore because of the super crowded area. So now we have to start and control the access to the destinations in a proper way. Of course, the sustainability comes from the fact that to earn more, you need more people. But then you go on the other way around when you have too much people, and then nobody wants to come, right? In sustainability of tourism, that's clear. So in certain destinations, like in El Nido, where we have also, for example, an airline that brings people there, we can somehow control access and don't bring excessive passengers. And then within the resort, all the of course the environmental practices of recycling plastic, of utilizing solar panel, LED bulbs, whatever is available in the industry today.
Thank you. So my last few words for you all are a big and heartfelt thank you for joining me on a Saturday. I wish you a great weekend ahead. It's been a busy 3 days. Everybody was involved in the event. So I also want to thank the organizer of World Travel Expo. All the recordings will be available on the pages of the event as well. So what I would like to invite everybody is to share. Once those videos are available, do share them on your social media. If your social media of choice is Facebook, please do so. LinkedIn if you want, Twitter, because amplifying the content of an event like this is what makes it effective. We want more people to hear about this. We've contributed, we've taken time. Let's share what we have brought together for the last 2 days. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and very pleased to meet you all.